Hey everybody, Jared Dennison here with Team Pop, that's people over profit. We truly believe that putting people first leads to profit second. I'm with Century 21 Professional Group, and today we're doing another episode of Realities of Real Estate. Today's focus, what is title? Let me start off by saying this is going to be an oversimplification of the title process. These videos are meant to be informative, but of course, you can always call, text, email, or smoke signal for me, and I will get you more and more information or connect you with a title partner of mine to discuss these in more detail. That being said, let's get started. A title company is there to protect you whether you're the buyer or the seller. A title company's main job is to make sure that the property gets transferred from seller to buyer without any issues such as permit issues, easement issues, or making sure that all the money's accounted for. We're gonna go a little bit in depth on how that process goes, but overall just know that they work as a third party. They work for both sides to try to get the contract from the contract to actually closed and then registered on the back end with the government. So, how does title accomplish this? Well, first off, from the day that you guys go under contract or within a few days of being under contract, it's very likely that the buyer is going to provide what's called an escrow deposit. That is risk money or money that will be lost by the buyer if they default, or money that's lost from the seller back to the buyer if the seller defaults. The title company is gonna hold that escrow account in most cases, again, refer to your contract, and they're gonna hold that at their third party in their account. And then if it's an interest-bearing account, that interest has to be accounted for. If it's a non-interest-bearing account, the money just stays there until either the seller or the buyer releases it to the other party. That's just kind of the tip of the iceberg for the title process. In the background, probably a little bit before you've ever even sent a contract, a seller should have worked with the title company before going to market. But assuming that they got the contract the day it was executed, the title company is going to immediately be doing things like running a title search, which is going to be a preliminary search to make sure that there's not already open permits or open investigations on that property, meaning judgments or liens against that house. They're also going to make sure that if there's a copy of a current survey, that it doesn't show that other people's properties are on your property boundary, or vice versa, that your property's boundary isn't against other people's property. In the case that nothing comes up, which is a lot of the time, they're still gonna do more digging to make sure that that's still the case, meaning they're gonna order an updated municipal lien search to make sure that liens like city water bill, power bill, electric, etc. is all paid for by the seller and up to date so that that cost isn't passed on to the buyer. They're also gonna look into that with your HOA via what's called an estoppel letter, where the HOA is gonna charge the seller to make sure that the HOA updates the title company on all the bills that are due for the HOA so that the buyer knows exactly what the HOA costs and what costs are associated with them, and make sure that the title company collects all the money from the selling side to make sure that the buyer is not on the hook for a bill that the seller should have paid. There's a difference between a municipal lien search and a lien search. Municipal means things from the city. There's also going to be the HOA search, which we talked about, and then there's the additional lien search, which is more general. Let's say, for example, that you're a seller, that you replaced your air conditioning 2 years ago and you didn't pay the person that installed the HVAC. There's still going to be a lien against the house for that amount. At least there's going to be typically a lien against the house. That'll be a mechanical lien. When you sell, that lien gets prioritized and must be paid off out of your proceeds. So these are the kinds of things that title is doing in the background to make sure that, number one, as the seller, you've done everything you're supposed to do, but as a buyer, that you're not walking into a nightmare that you're gonna owe money on later on. In addition to these lien searches, municipal lien searches, etc., they're also gonna be checking with the taxes to make sure that the taxes have been paid, and if they haven't, they're gonna have to collect that tax bill for the seller, and they have to do all of the math to prorate all the costs, meaning if there's taxes, which there always are, that they collect enough from the seller for the tax bill at the end of the year, but that they also collect enough from the buyer for the escrow account. They're also gonna collect the prorations for HOA and other costs associated with the property transference, including the title fees and the lending fees. Most lending fees will be on the lender side, most searches, etc. will be on the seller side, but again, refer back to your contract. Also, they're gonna be doing more searches So they're gonna be looking at surveys and ordering surveys to make sure that the seller is transferring the property free of easements or access to other people to use their property, and that the buyer clearly understands what their property boundaries are and where the easements are on that property for the government or other officials to use on their property. There are always going to be some easements on the property, including but not limited to where your utility lines run, etc. In any case, the main purpose of title is to make sure that everything gets transferred and fully accounted for from start to finish at a risk-adverse environment for all parties. In the case that something comes up later that should have been covered by title, that's why they provide you title insurance, because you can always go back to the title company for something that should have been covered, and their policy or their insurance will cover that. And that is why you pay a title company. Finally, you need to know that after the transaction is over for everyone else, and the title company has dispersed the checks and made sure that the money's there from the lender, and everyone's gotten paid and is happy-go-lucky, and the buyer has keys and the seller's got their money, the title company still has more work to do by recording the deed with the county and making sure that they follow up with the government officials and any payoffs that need to be paid off actually get sent. So they do a lot of work and are severely underappreciated in the process, and so I just felt like they needed to get a little shout out and a little bit more of a what do we do kind of video. In any case, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for joining us on Realities of Real Estate. Please give us a like or comment, as well as subscribe to our channel so that we can know what topics you want to hear next, and so you can see all of our past stuff as well. Again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.